Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Joining here from Paris, and I'm hoping many people are joining us from around the world and from France as well, from close by. I'm here today, Regni Jensen. I'm the VP of People Development and Diversity, and I'm here joined by Pierre-François Riolacci, our Executive Vice President in charge of Finance, ESG, and Procurement. Today is a very important day and a follow-up to a very nice moment we had together back in March. And back in March, we were celebrating the International Women's Day. During this event, we shared a number of different aspects, different topics together, and we opened up the floor to many questions. In fact, the event was so successful that we had several unanswered questions. And you, Pierre-François, have kindly offered that we continue the momentum and maintain that open discussion so that we would have a frank, honest, open conversation, and we continue to build this very open culture where we can discuss, open up to our different perspectives, and continue to shape a very inclusive environment across the organization. What you see appear in front of your eyes here on the screen are the questions as they were written and as they were sent by our people. We actually did only one thing. We filtered them a bit by the different themes that came across through those questions. The first theme I'm going to cover with you today is the one around really the high-level gender balance policy and why it matters so much to our organization. So let me start first, maybe first by a first few words of introduction from your end before we dig into those questions together. Pierre-François.
First introduction about NG in general. I mean, that's a big topic. I think what is important in the conversation that we have today is that we get alignment between what we do internally and our purpose. And I think that if we are all here in this organization to be the best energy transition utility, it's because we believe in purpose. And I'm sure that those who are attending today, they do have that very close to their mind. And I think that when you are in that kind of purpose to be the best energy transition utilities, and I'm sure you've heard Catherine explaining already what it means, I think it triggers that we want to be the best in many things that we do. And it's not only about the colleagues who are operating energy management or those who are installing growth with renewables or networks. I mean, it's really about everything is involved, everything is part of it. And in there, it's also about managing our internal stakeholders. It's also about managing our teams. It's also about managing everything that we do in a way which is supporting this agenda. And that's why I believe, and I make a link straight away to the policies that we have, and this gender balance policy is part of it. And I would like that each and everyone understand that when we are working on that topic, we are actually working towards what we want to achieve globally in the business.
So actually, continuing on that idea, good segue to the first question. So what's in your, I'd say, lifespan, both at NG and in other companies, I would say, I'm sure you have other experiences as well. What real examples could you share within NG as to where gender balance didn't feel like just the right thing, it just feels like the right thing to do? Sorry.
The right thing to do, not only because morally it's the right thing to do, but also business-wise. I think that's indeed a key point. I would like to remind everyone that first, that if we have a policy, it's because gender balance is a good thing. And you know, good things, bad things, they happen very easy. It's accidents, and accidents are frequent, very easy. Good things can happen by coincidence. We call them miracles, but miracles are not very frequent. So if you want a good thing to happen, you need a policy, and you need a proactive policy. I would like to highlight that. And then, of course, there is a business benefit to this proactive policy around gender balance, which for sure is that first, the reservoir of talents is 50-50. And if you want to get the best talents, you need to, of course, fish in the two ponds, female and male, and everything in between, by the way. So I think it's very important that we fish in all the ponds that we can actually reach out. So that's the best way to attract the best people. But also because a diverse team is the strongest team. The more it is diverse, the stronger the team will be. And I would like indeed to touch on in a few examples of that. One, it's a deal that we concluded actually in 2023. That was the nuke transaction, and you remember that we, at the end of the day, finalized an agreement with the Belgian government to transfer the nuke waste management liabilities with, of course, a significant down payment of 15 billion euros, and that was clearly a turning point in the de-risking story of ENGIE. I believe that if we have been able to achieve this transaction, it's because we had diversity. We have been negotiating with the Prime Minister, who is, of course, a man, and the Minister of Energy, who is, of course, a woman, Tine, and Alex. And I think that on the other side, on ENGIE side, we had Catherine McGregor, and we had she was flanked by two men, Thierry Sageman and myself. And the fact that in the room, in this very close room, there was a very little number of people, but there was diversity, I think it was very efficient. And I think it was really something that allowed to have different looks, different way to look at things, different way to look at the dynamic of the very, very difficult negotiation, where, of course, Belgian government is not, they are used to many negotiations, but not a business negotiation, and we are not used to a political negotiation. So if we didn't have the diversity that gender was bringing on that day, I think we would not have never made it. I would like to point to another example, which is exactly the opposite. It's an example of negotiation where there was no diversity at all, but it was all females. And that was a fantastic negotiation that was actually achieved. That's with regard to the gas tariff. And the negotiation was led by, of course, by Cécile and the dream team of the regulated entities in France, and Laurence and Charlotte and many, many women, Raphael, the CFO, and Catherine. And why is it that it was so successful? It was successful also because on the other side, at the helm of the regulation entity, the CRE, there was a lady. And I think it is very important when you are engaged in the business that you recognize that you have diversity in front of you and you need to come with diversity. It's so often that we see a room full of men. It's good sometimes that you see a room full of women. And not to talk about communication, not to talk about ESG, not to talk about anything, to talk about business, to talk about heavy numbers. And I think, to me, it's a really, it shows the power of having this talent pool of women, even if it's not one for one. It's diversity in another way, but it's very important. And the last example I would like to mention is that I remember in a previous life, a commercial team coming back from a big tender to customers, and they say, guys, I think we made a big mistake. We were 6 of us, 6 men, and in front of us in the tender there were 4 women. I think that was a big mistake. This will never happen again. And since then, of course, when you talk to customers, you need to reflect. You need to reflect your customers. It's very important that you get, and of course we lost that tender, by the way, and I think it's very important that you come with the right people. And you need, when you talk to your customers, you need to look like your customer. And I think for ENGIE, it's absolutely critical that we get completely tuned to our environment, especially our customers' environment.
Thank you for those real life examples. Very powerful for us. It's not just about stating values. It's about showing real life actions you can take within your organizations, within your teams. It's a business imperative. It's about high performing teams. It's a differentiator across our organization and outside. It's a customer first approach, I would say. in your last example. As a reminder, I see that happening often around the world. We do have a policy as well as to organising panels. Those panels within NG should be gender diverse. Remember that. It's a policy within our organisation that we should have men and women on our panel to correctly represent what we want to be and what we want to showcase to the world. If I go to our next question, we know that not everyone is on board with our guidance. It's unfortunate, but we know that it doesn't necessarily happen right away. We have hope that we embark everyone and that no one has a doubt that this is the right thing to do. So what would you say to our male colleagues who are still hesitant or maybe skeptical about the efforts we're making around gender balance or gender diversity?
That's a good one, and that's not an easy one. First, when you are used to get more than 90% of the opportunities, it's not a great deal to go towards parity. And I'm a white male, over 50. I've been used to be rather in a comfortable seat. And I can feel sometimes myself the pain. I mean, when it comes to get a directorship position, I know that when I will be a non-exec, I will struggle because I'm a man. But so when your starting point is so high, 95%, of course, the strive to parity is scary. And you can understand, everybody can understand why indeed I say, okay, wow, my position before was better. Yes, it was. But it has to stop. It has to stop. So that I think we need to be very clear about that. Some of the men, they would actually voice it and say, oh, come on, this parity is terrible for us because it means that we don't have opportunities anymore. Not that many. There are more who think about it but don't say it. And there are even a few who think about it and try to fight it, to be very candid. Of course, it happens once in a while. I think we need to be very clear about it. We need to be directional. We are not going to entertain any discussion about this target. We want to achieve that target, and it has to happen. And I think that's the best way to look at it when we engage, and when I engage with men, because of course, it's easier for a man to be very direct in there, is that, it's going to happen. So either you are going to try to oppose and you will lose, or you try to be part of it. And as a leader, as a male leader, as a male manager, there is also value to be found in finding, developing, promoting female talents. Because then you are part of it. And then it's a credit to you as a man to be part of this parity move. I think the more we'll be onboarding male managers and male leaders in that target, mentioning that for them it's a credit to be able to help on that, that's very important. What does that mean to help? It's clear that when you want to drive parity, it means that also you need to take action. It's very important to be with you today to talk. But when we make decisions, when we decide to move people around, when we decide to promote people, at some point in time, we say, okay, do we have enough women? Is there a chance we can give this job, this position to a woman? And then indeed, because there is a legacy, because there is a pipe, it happens pretty often that in terms of skills or experience, hard skills, experience, there is less maturity in the female pipe than in the male pipe. So it means that we need to take a bit more risk. So I think we should do it. And I think we are doing it. I think it's very important that we do it. Now, if we want to be fair, when we do it, it's also very important that it comes with support. Because when you say, I take a risk, I go for someone who probably is a bit slightly lower in terms of hard skills or in terms of experience, then it's very important that I back this person. Otherwise, I'm setting someone for failure. And that's not what we want. So it's very important that when we take a bit more risk, we also come with support, which means that there will be more engagement of the N+1 leader. There might be also that you rearrange a bit the team to make sure that you have someone in the organization which is covering the weakest part of the hard skills. It's important that you spend more time. It's important that colleagues are also around and help in the first 6 months, the first 12 months to make sure that indeed the person is given a fair chance. So yes, we need to take more risk, but then also there is another role for male leaders, which is to support that, because you can also shine if you are supporting your colleagues, if you are supporting your team members. So to me, it's important that of course, everybody will be thinking about its own trajectory, but in your own trajectory, you can actually build yourself a success if you are supporting the agenda.
Thank you. Actually, you've covered a number of questions in a way through your examples here. Really, I want to hear something around the topic of quotas. You covered it in a way in your explanation, but I think we need to stop and pause for a second here and remind ourselves, why is it so important? Why is it so important that we continue to have targets shown to our organization, engaging all our men and women across the organization today? Why is it important to remain on that track?
So coming back to my first observation, when you want good things to happen, you need a policy. What is a policy? A policy is targets with milestones, with deadlines, with commitment, with accountability, with handouts that you can pull. If you don't have policy, if you don't have targets, you're not moving. Targets are not quotas. Targets are where we want to be. Quota is a commitment right now to get to a certain minimum number. I think we need to be careful. We have set targets and we want to meet them. If it was that easy that we can put anyone in the seat, then, we could be at 50-50 very quickly. But we are not. And you know how we are struggling to achieve 34% of female managers appointment. Why is it that we are not appointing right away 50%? Why is it? It's because indeed we don't want to appoint women who are going to fail. We don't want to appoint people who are not credible, who are not legitimate to fill the position. If we were doing that, we would kill the project. That's not what we want to do. And by the way, that's not what females want. I'm sure you don't want to be in a position where you're not legitimate. You want to be given a fair chance, and maybe with a bit of help. That's okay, and that's what we want to do. Unfortunately, it takes time to get there, and that's what we are doing. But we have, I think, as far as I can see in NG, we have never been making that mistake to put quotas and then to be, at the end of the day, forced to appoint people who have no chance to make it. I think it's very important that we make a distinction. And to our male colleagues, it's very important that even if sometimes we take more risk, it's always because we believe we have a credible and legitimate candidate. And then maybe a need for a bit more support than usual, but definitely someone who has a good chance to succeed. That's the interest of the business, of the company, and that's why it takes some time.
That last point was really important, in fact, around the decisions to promote or to move someone within the organization. I think there's a few concepts that are also kind of blended in that fourth question, but it's around the balance between readiness, and you just said something about that, the balance between readiness and the potential of the candidates we select for the role. I think maybe if you could share a few words again on that, just to really highlight, emphasize, it's not only about readiness, it's about the potential we bet on, about the potential we invest in.
And this is not a female-male question. It's just a real question. I think that all of us, we have been promoted at some point in our life. And maybe for some of us, we have been promoted a few times. When you are promoted, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't own everything you need by design, because you're moving to another position, so you don't own it. And of course, you have weak spots. And that happens for everyone. So I think it's very important that we recognize that we have weak spots. So you cannot expect for women to be better than anyone. I mean, clearly, some women will be appointed, many will be appointed. Why not mastering everything that they are supposed to master, indeed, at the end of their assignment. And I think you are an expert in talent, you know that by heart. It's not about the readiness, is actually not about all the hard skills and soft skills and experience that you have. It's also this capacity, this capability to move to the next step and to eat more. And I think that part is very important, and that's where, to be very candid, very often we've seen some issues because we tend to expect a bit more from female colleagues than from male colleagues. And it's also, and I don't know if you have a question about that later, it's about a question about self-confidence as well.
Oh, I do have a question about that. So actually, let's break the pace a little bit and share a video just to connect with what we've just been saying around numbers and where we stand today. So we make it happen, right? For those who had any doubts, I hope you're already moving the needle to the next level. Just here sharing a few insights as to where we stand today. You saw on that very short video our ambition, 40% by 2030. Just to make sure we take a step back on 40% by 2030 is women will have 4 chances out of 10 to get the job, right? So it's not necessarily that ambitious. However, we at NG are still far from reaching that target. It is, and let's be honest, at risk because of obviously availability of talents, but we did say that the workforce has about 50% women and 50% men. So let's just go and look hard for it. And I just want to highlight here that when we look at our targets for female managers by 2040, we are talking about our exempt population, total exempt population, or managers, as we say at NG. These are 30,000 employees at NG today. So let's just move the needle on that. It is an ambitious one, and I just want to highlight that NG is far more ambitious than many other companies out there because we do take our target over our full managerial workforce or exempt workforce. Many companies look at the top only. So that's a key advantage that we are also trying to showcase out there. So we're at 32.4 for 2025. We want to reach 33% in our manager workforce. The other target, and really we need all of you to get there, is around our recruiting target, because obviously we need as many coming in our organization and very few leaving, please. But we want to recruit as many as possible, 38% by end of this year. It is at risk. It is at risk. Q1, underperforming clearly. So we have to accelerate our actions there, look further. I do receive a lot of feedbacks, and I know you have as well, around the ongoing hiring freeze. The ongoing hiring freeze is one that actually applies to our support functions. Now, let me be very clear. if we are afraid because of that hiring freeze, it just means that we didn't work hard enough to get the right profiles in. Because there is no reason why we shouldn't aim at having the right gender balance in our operations roles, in our technical roles, and we should not only be targeting to reach our objectives by filling support functions by female hires. So let me just give you that challenge very clearly. Any words from you, maybe? Do you want to add something to that?
No, you said it all, so I don't want to double down on it.
Okay, so you understood the message. Now going to the next theme, we received two questions actually here around work-life balance. So if you take the first one with the lack of qualified staff, parents, both mothers and fathers, need to be pulled back to work after childbirth with interesting tasks. Often they're left without any means of advancing their career and are often forgotten by the managers. A parental leave should be offered to all parents. What would you say to that?
No, I think it makes sense, of course. I think in NG we are not that bad because we are offering, I believe for fathers, there is already a parental leave of 4 weeks.
Correct.
Which is significant. It's not, of course, as long as for mothers, but it is already something. I think it is important because it's sending a signal. 4 weeks, you see it, especially if it is in January in finance. I can tell you a 4 weeks leave will be noticed. So, and I think it's important that you have that signal. Now, what is important, of course, that when people come back, they are given a fair chance to resume their position. And that's the minimum. By the way, it's a legal requirement. So that's the minimum you need to do. I think there is another question which calls for another answer, which may not be a general answer, because not everybody is the same. When somebody is coming back, and I say somebody because it can be a father or it can be a mother. If somebody is coming back from a parental leave, you have two extreme positions, and there is everything in the middle, of course. But one common situation that happens is that someone is coming, say, you know what? Now I have this baby girl or baby boy at home, and I would like to find something which is a work-life balance that makes sense. And that's something you can hear. I mean, that's something that's fairly normal. And we all have different periods in our life, and we have to respect that sometimes people need also a bit more time. That's okay. That's okay. That's part of a professional career, which I remind you is now 40 years. So in 40 years, it might be that you need 5-10 years where you have a pace which is a bit slower than the one that you can have when you are an old man like me. So I think it's very different, of course, depending on you are. We can listen to that, and then the managers need to take care of that. But you have other situations. You have people who say, I've been away for 3 months. I need to catch up. I want to catch up, and I don't want, or you have people who have been away for 3 years, because that's a congé parental d'éducation, and say, I've been away, I've been very pleased to take care of my little boy, my little girl, but now I want to come back. Not only I want to come back, but I want to catch up. And then we need to be able to offer to this kind of population that exists a chance to fast track and to come back, not only as if they had not gone, or actually they need to come back as if they had not gone, not just freezing 3 years. Because when you freeze 3 years, it's not that easy, because in the meantime, your colleagues who are exactly the same generation, they have actually moved during the organization. They took another position. So they are one position away, one position ahead of where you are. So we need to be able also to fast track. I think it's very important that the business, the company behaves in a very human way and try to understand for each and everyone what is the journey that you are after now in the next 5 years. And I think we need to recognize that things change over our life. So I think we still have a lot to do to get there. We are not yet there. We need to be respectful of what people think, but we need also to give a chance. And I'm not very in favor of something which will be general for everyone, because not everyone expects the same thing from NG.
Just to also really emphasize to everyone on this call, we have 14 weeks at NG globally. disregarding any local, unfavorable benefit in the country. It is 14 weeks for the primary caregiver and 4 weeks. Also, this is a very important advantage that we give at NG across the world. So 4 weeks for the secondary caregiver for your childbirth. So again, very important measure that we took through the NG Care Pillar to make sure that we had a social minimum benefits across our world, again, for all our people. The second one here that we have is a bit of a tricky one sometimes. We have sometimes feedbacks that are quite vocal around gender balance, around the fact that we may be taking a step back on gender balance because of our home working policy, and the fact that we may question the amount of time we let our people work from home versus working from office. So how do we reconcile balance, flexibility at work, and the flexibility of our own working from home situations?
I don't like this question. And I don't like this question because it's casting a light on home working that I don't like at all. When we are home working, we are working from home. I do not assume that when a woman is working from home, she's just taking care of her kids, or she's doing something else than working. That's not my assumption. I'm not working under that assumption. I'm working under the assumption that when a woman is working at home, she's working. And then like a man, by the way, that goes for both. But here in the question, it sounds like when it is a woman, it might be that she works a bit less. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. So I could say I don't understand the question, if you see what I mean. I think it's a question which is pretty dangerous. It's not dangerous for women, it's dangerous for home working. So if we believe that home working is just to make your life easier at home and take care of the kids, I mean, now we are going in the wrong direction. I don't think we are going to support a lot of home working that way. Home working is a solution for work, and it is something which is now part of indeed what you need to offer as an employer value. That's part of it, but we need to be very mindful. It's about work. And then, of course, I do not disregard the time for transportation, especially in some cities that make a difference. So, of course, if you're working from home, then you can say at 5 I stop. If at 5 I stop, then I can pick up the kids and that kind of thing. Okay, fair enough. But be mindful that we need to get organized, and a private organization, a life organization, which is based on working from home in an extensive way, is fragile. It is fragile because you cannot bet that in your life, you will build your organization, your working life, based on working from home. You will be moving to other positions, and you say, okay, but I'm not going to move in the next 2 years. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, we need to be flexible. It's very important that we have a robust, we have a resilient organization in our life to make sure it happens. Now, this is a general comment, it's a general question, it's a general answer. Of course, there may be a specific question. I think it's very important for home working that there is a discussion with the manager. And the manager needs to get in the discussion and have a very courageous discussion with each and every one to make sure that we come with the right solution. And I'm getting carried away, so I'll stop there.
Actually, you get to two very important questions. One, you spoke about, in fact, during our March session, but we just you just referred to it also prior to a few questions about confidence. So you've come across situations yourself where you do see our, confidence capital sometimes eaten up in the female world more than on the peers side with our male colleagues. So, what could you say about this before we let you go? And I will question you, give you final questions before really freeing you up today.
Yeah, I mean, this is that's my pet topic, and when it comes to gender diversity, and actually the reason I accepted when I was asked was exactly that one, because after many years in the business, I have noticed a very different way for women and men selling themselves, and it has been a pragmatic observation at the beginning, is that each time I was discussing with a woman or with a man about taking another position, clearly the man could not see that the woman would be spending a lot of time on the half-empty part of the glass, and for the man, the glass was fully full. There was no. It's not even that it was not the empty part was not discussed. It was no empty part. And I mean, yeah, of course, I exaggerate a bit, but just a bit. I can tell you by experience, 9 out of 10 cases, it's the same story. The woman said, yeah, but I mean, that's a big thing that you ask. I mean, I still miss that. I have not been in that position in there. Okay, and usually your male colleagues, they will not think very long before saying, of course, I can think even about the job after. So that there is really something in the mindset that is important. It's funny when you look at assessments, and I guess that some of you may have been looking at a lot of assessments, but when you look at a lot of assessments, the average score of men is significantly above the average score of women. So for sure, it must be because they perform better, or maybe they have a self-assessment which is a bit milder than the one with women. I think it's very important to keep that in mind. So I think there is something to be done. Of course, there are exceptions, but again, it's very important that we share that we share that point. I was a bit shy at the beginning, because maybe that's something that is not allowed to be told. But then I started to voice it with colleagues, with male colleagues, with female colleagues, and I think everybody can relate to that. Many people can relate to that statement. So I'm more open about it. And I think it's a call here to my male colleagues, which is guys, you need to factor that in. You need to factor that there is a bit of shyness in many of our female colleagues. So we need to help them to get away from that. And then there is something about you, about my female colleagues, which is, come on. I mean, we all miss something. You remember, you told me, I mean, about readiness. I mean, when you are promoted, you always miss something. Otherwise, you would be in the job. So if you are moving to the new job, it's because you are actually missing something. That's okay. I mean, and you need to trust the organization. You need to believe that if you are asked, you are trusted, and also you will be helped. And maybe that's where we are a bit. We still have some miles to go. That we need to be more open about the support that we can give at the time we make a move. But self-confidence, in my book, is probably a significant part of the problem. I think ambition needs to come, and it is okay. And when I can tell you, I had the discussion even in NG, and when I ask my male colleagues, do you see yourself in my seat? Many of them say yes. Some of them, they don't need to be asked. And when I have the same conversation with women, I mean, the first answer is, well, they really struggle to say yes, even if they think about it. But just saying it is an effort. Saying it, yes, I see myself in your seat at some point, it is clearly something which is difficult. And that does not happen with male colleagues. So there is something around that needs to be addressed.
Last question for you. It's not one written there, because obviously no one either thought about it, but also something came up very recently, actually this week. We had a number of very important announcements. And I think, I have received a number of questions about it myself, so I'll just reflect those questions. It is around, we've made recent decisions around key moves in the organization, and it looks like we're losing one female profile at XCOM level. I think we should answer just questions around that. To our audience. I'm sure some have had that conversation around coffee.
I think that it relates to the question that we had before. I mean, you do not manage an XCOM with quotas. So I think you need to put the people at that time. You need to put the people who are already in the seat, and that's what we did. That's what Catherine decided, and I think she was right to do it. Now, indeed, there is -1 if you count. There is -1 compared to the situation ex ante. And you can argue, oh, but is this an issue? I don't think it is an issue. I think first, what does matter is the impact. And I think I can tell you the ladies in the ExComs, they do have an impact. And I'm very, very confident that the ladies, the team, the ladies team in the ExCom will have at least as much impact as the previous ladies team. So I think the voice will be there. I mean, look at the appointments that have happened in the recent past. I mean, you've seen Rosaline, who is appointed as head of Power Networks. That's a very big position. You know how strategic it is. It is extremely strategic for us. For those who have been looking at the market update, it's left, right, center of our strategy. We appoint a lady there. I think that's absolutely critical. We have Miriam, who is on you. I know it's not public. Well, okay, now it is. So everybody knows that Miriam is moving as a country CEO of Peru. I mean, these are positions which are also very important. Country manager, having a woman country manager, they are heavily exposed. I mean, you are leading big organization with hundreds, with thousands of people. I mean, we should take pride to see that in Spain, in Italy, in the UK, we have women who are country manager, I mean, there is no more operational roles. And I think this, to me, is actually showing something about how bold we are. And clearly, we want to have women who are sitting in big seats, and they are sitting in big seats. So the count is something. The impact is something else. And if you look at the appointment, they are not meek and mild. They are big appointments where you are shifting big responsibilities to women. And that's on purpose that I gave this example about a team of women negotiating this gas tariff, which is so important. It's €1 billion of extra EBIT in the next few years per year. That's massive. And that kind of mission is sitting with women. I think there is no better proof point of how committed we are and how do we trust actually a woman to take care of the most important responsibilities in NG. By the way, remind me who is leading NG. Apparently it's not a man. So I think that we are in good shape, and I don't think that everybody should feel downbeat because there is -1. I think you need to look at the appointments which are coming, which have happened, the ones will come, and you see that there is no limit for women in NG.
No limit. I love the finishing line. No limit for women at NG, no limit for anyone. It's really about unleashing the potential of all, I remind you. Unleashing the potential of all. What I'll remember as well is men, please, men power other women. And to our women around the world, women power women. So make sure we support one another. We are exemplary in leading the way towards this progress. And as we see, questions sometimes show that there's a little bit of discomfort in the system. And I always say to everyone, progress comes with discomfort. When discomfort arises, actually, it's probably because we're making good progress. So thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for this very honest conversation. Thought leadership, definitely. We have the best sponsor for gender balance and gender diversity in the group. Thank you for your quality time with us. We'll definitely want to repeat these conversations over and over because of the honesty and authenticity you have with us. And I'll take this opportunity before you go just to introduce, while you're here, introduce a very important person for all of us here and on the call, Vanessa McAvoy. Vanessa has just joined the team, People Development and Diversity team, as a Diversity, Equity and Inclusion and Talent Acquisition Director. So welcome and congratulations as well to you and to all the people who have recently moved in new roles and responsibilities. You have a wonderful challenge to take up, and we're very happy to see you today to lead this next session and welcome our panel guests as well.
Thanks so much, Ragni, and I'm very pleased to be commencing in a new role after 7 years with the NG Group as well, both in Australia and the last 18 months here in Paris. So I'm also very happy to be taking the DEI agenda to the next stage as well in the journey that we have. So I'm very committed to inclusion, but also belonging is really important to me, and I want to feel that all of our team members can bring their authentic selves to work and that they can belong at NG as well. So before we move on to the next phase of our session today, I'm just conscious a little bit of time, so we might just keep moving and miss the questions. And if there are other questions, we'll have them come through for the next session that we're going to run. But we are going to put on a quick little video of Bees in Our Shoes, which is Binal Raichura from our team in NG in India, and she's the HR Director.
When I started my career, the inequalities were very clear. Women at a certain level were paid about 20-25% lesser than the male employees. Violence against women at the workplace is generally not allowed. But if you ask me my personal experience, and I've been through a certain difficult times where, I've not felt really good about my position. I was shut down a few times. So that has happened with me in the past. NG has given me a little different perspective when it comes to the diversity in itself, because I see different race, different caste, different religion, different kind of people. I feel part of this team very, very strongly. It gives me a very good confidence that I do have equal opportunity to perform and grow within the organization. They don't really talk about hiring a male or a female. They just look at hiring the talent for the organization.
And if you would like to hear all of Binal's story and a number of the other stories that we have in our series of Bees in Our Shoes, so there's another 9 videos, we would really love you to click through onto the HR Hub, which you'll find on the intranet, and you'll discover more about BU at NG, which has all of those videos there. So they're very powerful stories of our team members. So now I am very honoured to welcome to the stage 3 remarkable women from our business, and we've got one that's calling in remotely as well, who have generously agreed to share their personal stories with us today and their experience and their insights. So conversation is a real opportunity for us to hear those authentic perspectives. It's on how these conversations about how women can focus on building our careers, supporting one another through allyship, as well as navigating the right balance between work and family, as well as how we can be leaders where we can feel true to ourselves as well. So these stories are very valuable reflections, and I hope that they might inspire you, challenge your thinking, and also to help us all support in how we can shape a more inclusive workplace here at NG. So I am very pleased to introduce 3 of our team members. So firstly, we have Marissa Asman, who is our regional CFO in Southeast Asia, and she's calling in, so we will see her shortly. So Marissa has a very extensive finance career starting at Deloitte in banking and logistics and shipping, and Marissa started with us in 2021. So thank you for joining us so late in the evening as well, Marissa, because she's calling from Singapore as well. So we really do appreciate that. Thank you. We also have Alain Duran, who has recently had a new appointment. So we're always very excited to hear about careers here at NG. So Helene has just been appointed to CFO and is also responsible for asset management at Store NG as well. So congratulations on the new role. So she's worked previously with us as VP Financing and Investments, and also came to us with 10 years experience in the energy industry at Total as well. And we have Ilem Bashir, who is our key private accounts director with SEM. That rolled off my tongue as we transition away from GEMS in B2B France. And so Ilem has had a long career with us here at NG, 15 years, specialising really in energy supply chain and risk management for B2B and to B2C. So just conscious of time, we had some great discussion with Aragni and Pierre-Francois. So we'll try and move as fast as we can around sharing these journeys as well. So Marissa, over to you. We would love to hear a little bit about your career journey, and it didn't necessarily follow the traditional path. And so if you could share a bit with us about that journey, it'd be fantastic.
Sure. Thanks, Vanessa, and hello, everyone. Indeed, it's not been the most traditional or linear journey. It's been quite diverse. I think diverse in terms of geography. So I am Malaysian by nationality, and I studied and worked in Australia, then in the UK, and I've been in Singapore the last 15 years. And I think diverse in terms of career. So I trained as a lawyer, but I started work in tax in the Big Four. And then I was in M&A. I joined shipping as a finance director, and then I've been in NG the last few years as a CFO. So it's not the journey that I expected or planned for or at the beginning of my career, but I think I've been very fortunate to be able to do it. And I think I would recommend it to anyone, to all of you, because it's extremely rewarding, not just from a rounded skill set perspective, but I think it's just the importance of change and what that helps with in terms of being more agile, being more resilient, and it's confidence building as well, and that helps you kind of both. Has helped me in both of my professional and personal life as well.
Thanks so much for sharing, Marissa. It's a really great example that careers aren't always vertical. So you can get that growth in different industries as well as different professions as well. It also brings us to another theme that many women relate to. So how we advocate for ourselves and support others at the same time. So I'd really love to hear from you about a time you found the courage to speak up, not just for yourself, but for others, and how these moments have influenced your approach to encouraging other women to share their voices, especially in meetings.
So I'm a big believer, I think, in speaking out, whether it's for ourselves or for others, right? And I think there's a big important role for role models there. So role models, I think, help you create that courage to speak up, say in meetings. I want to take an example I had when I joined NG a few years ago in Singapore. I attended my first ExCom management meeting in Southeast Asia, and my CEO at the time, there were many loud voices in the room, and he kind of quieted the voices in the room to kind of single me out and ask for my opinion on a topic. And that really helped just give me that initial push, because after that you have the confidence to continue. And I think I'm very conscious of paying that forward. So to make a mental note to myself to create that space in the room or in a meeting for my team to kind of stop the conversation and call out, younger team members to speak. And it's not just during a meeting. I think it's also after meetings, trying to receive and give real-time feedback. So several years ago, I had a manager give me, as an example, feedback about the fact that in every meeting, I would be the first to put my hand up to take notes or be the minute taker in a meeting. I didn't realize I was doing that. So the feedback was to try and be more vocal and maybe give that role to someone else to do. So I tried to do that as well with my teams. Look for those patterns that you can give feedback on.
Thanks so much, Marissa. They are two very great examples that I think we can all take as leaders. So certainly hearing from those voices that are not as loud in meetings, regardless of the gender, is a really great one for us to all to live by as leaders. But also giving that feedback real time is really important as well. So thank you for that. I'd like to turn now to Elaine. And I know that you have previously been very open about sharing some of your experiences about miscarriage while navigating professional life. So if you'd feel comfortable today about sharing some of your story with us, we would really love to hear more about how starting conversations around pregnancy loss in the workplace can help create more supportive and inclusive environments for others who may be going through a similar experience.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. So I'm 46, and in my late 30s, I was going through fertility treatment. And that's why it's not all about maternity, paternity leave. It's also sometimes about getting pregnant and having difficulties on the way. That's what happened to me. And in fact, I because of these treatments, it didn't succeed right away, of course. And so I went through several miscarriages, 6 in a row. So it was very tough to go through it, and still having my responsibilities at work and keeping a pace at work, which was a very nice balance for my psyche, definitely, but also very, very difficult to handle at the same time. So this is very intimate. This is something sometimes you don't want to talk about it. Now it's 10 years that I've been through that, and I just want to share it because at that time, myself, I was not able to share at all with no one. My manager, I was in another company, so my manager was not at all a caring person. My HR partner, neither, unfortunately. And I felt that it was not something you shall talk about at work, which was, I think, something wrong because it's so much to handle. It really impacts your health, your daily agenda. When you go and you have your treatments, you start at 6 in the morning, go to the hospital, then you have your day at work, then they call you with your doses and tell you how your hormones are going, etc. So it really impacts, in fact, your day. And it's not something you can really handle by yourself. And then when comes some miscarriages, this is something really that happens also for women in general. So it's approximately 1 woman out of 5. So it's a lot of people, a lot of women who go through that, and it may happen during your week, because in the working hours, it may happen during working hours. You don't really choose when it happens. So it happened to me at work, at the canteen, and I was just, okay. And I couldn't handle it. And at that time, I felt totally alone. No one to talk about. I even didn't think I could go to the medical care of my tower. I didn't know what to do. I was not prepared for it, and there was nothing communicated about it. It was a taboo. It's something no one talks about. So I felt really alone, and I handled it the way I could at that time. So my message is that if you had told me before, like, okay, you're a woman, it will impact your career, the way you handle your career, I would say no. I will do like I want. I'm strong. I will manage it. It happens that in your life, like Pierre-François said, you have periods in your life when it does impact whatever. I mean, as a woman, but also as an employee. We are not robots. And so but it happened to me during a few years. And my message today is really that, okay, we have collectively to handle it as a company, as managers, being aware of it, with HR partners also, because it impacts the way women will handle their careers. At that time, for example, I demanded my manager to stay in my position for 1 extra year, which he didn't want to, because they had plans at 3 years as a position. Then you have to move. I was in the middle of a treatment, I couldn't move. So for example, this you have as a manager, you have to hear, to listen to what women want at that moment, and to give some support. So I truly believe also of the women network support for these things, which are really intimate, which you think you shall not talk about it, but it impacts you so much. I think you shall have someone to talk to. So I'm just offering that we are able at NG to be more inclusive and to support women in this kind of moments in their lives, which are quite common and not easy to handle just by yourself.
Thank you, Hélène, for sharing your story and being so vulnerable. Yeah, thank you. It's only through having these conversations, and not everybody wants to speak about it, but if you do, knowing that there is support for you to be able to do so. And so it's really important for us to, I think, continue these conversations so it can be more inclusive for people, and they can feel that they're more able to open up. I'm a little bit conscious of time, and I'm hoping that those who are in the room can stay a little bit longer, but for those of us who are online can stay a few more minutes as well. So I might just hand over now to to Ilem and get you to share one of your stories. So we would love to hear a story about your own leadership style. So how you describe your style and what values or approaches have shaped the way that you lead your team, especially when it comes to building trust and supporting others to grow.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and very happy to share those insights. Sorry for my voice, I have lost it, so it's not very easy. So, very important things to say is to be yourself. That's something very insightful for me. So in terms of leadership style, I always recognized this little girl that wanted to have the keys of the driving car and to drive for it. And I have a 15 years career in NG, and I usually wanted to have my own business, my own P&L. And it was like a star for me to get that. And even if I was told that I was very good at other things to do, I did it. I did it like this little girl who was a good student to do it. But when I was really good at what I'm doing, when it was when I was really trustful and faithful to my inner identity. So that's very important. And when observing my management style, what did work? Really, to be honest, the best word to describe it is a maternal leadership style. Really. If you look at your mother leadership at home, how she does lead budget, how she motivates the children, how she's multitasks in terms of managing different tasks at a time, that building trust, having a long-term vision, because we have many male leadership styles in terms of managing P&L, managing a business, being operational. But having this style of maternal leadership style gives confidence and accessibility. People will tell you more about the problem, so you have to tackle the problem earlier. And you have like not a short-term view, but a long mid-term view, because you don't abandon your people, because you have this trustful relationship with them. And this is in line also with not putting masks. If I observe the environment I was evolving into, people don't smile very often. I was very often smiling, and I was myself. And it was like, for me, also a strength afterwards that people came to see me, and the people I was managing, it was easy for them to come because I was smiling. I was open in terms of also in terms of body language. So for me, we have each one a personal leadership style. We don't have to mimic other leadership style, but still to recognize yourself, your strength, and to trust yourself to be yourself.
Lynn, what a great story about finding your own authentic leadership style. I know it's many of us in our own leadership journey continue to look for that as we progress in our careers as well. So that was a really great story for you to share. So thank you for that. I'm conscious of time. We've gone a little bit over, so thank you for all of you who've been able to stay. I wanted to just share that, again, on the HR Hub, there is lots of resources. One of the important things for all of us on this journey is to continue with our own learning about this, but also to have more conversations. So please don't hesitate to look at the HR Hub there. And I would like to now take the opportunity to hand over to Aragni for our closing comments.
Thank you. Really, if you can stand up, my dear colleagues here, my heartfelt thank you, really. Thank you to all of you, the three of you, for the courage and honesty for having this conversation with the network that has joined online. Really, these conversations have to happen more often, if you agree. I would really, really want us to build the strongest network, whether male or female, but the strongest ever network that exists out there to represent our 100,000 talents, but, you know, our almost 30,000 female talents as well, to power them, to make sure that we have the most inclusive environment. Really, I love the term BU at NG because it just tells it all. But really, thank you for your honesty, courage again, I really think these conversations are useful to set so many people around the world. We come with very different perspectives, different lives, different education, but really what binds us is when we get to that inclusive and balanced environment is we form the same norms, we form the same needs, in fact, wherever we come from, and that binds us together. So thank you again. We'll want to do this again and again. So hopefully we'll build that stronger and stronger network to help each other. Power one another. Thank you.
One last plug before we go. So we've had a little bit of a technical problem, but you may have seen come out yesterday our LGBTQ plus seminar invite on the 16th of June. We'll hopefully send that invite out again tomorrow. But if you can put a placeholder in your diary for 4:30 to 6 p.m. CET time. And the session is going to be on parenthood in all its forms. So we're hoping that you can join us for that. So look for the new invitation that comes out tomorrow. So
We'll be there.
thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Marisa. Thank you, Lem and Elen. Thank you.
Thank you.